say was one of the most important things that you learned from your parents? What did they teach you that has really helped you in your life?
Well, they taught me to be honest, try to be honest, and try to be kind, and stay out of trouble, and so forth. But you know how young kids are when they grow up and so forth. You probably get in a little bit of trouble. Because I remember when I was in my teens, I think it was, yeah. We were going down to the old swimming hole, and I went through this Mount Rose cemetery, and one of them big bulbs, that's on a pedestal, different colors, I thought it was metal, and I was throwing stones at it, and I popped one. Well, that time, one of the workers over there, he caught up with me and still asked me where I lived and so forth, and he took me up to the office, and then they called my dad over, and my dad had to turn around and help to dig graves, in order to pay for the bulb. Yeah, and he didn't say a word to me. He just told me it was wrong. He said, I want you to know that you can't do it again and so forth. I said, and I told him I understand. And but they were good parents. They done as best as they could.
What was school like for you? Where'd you go to school?
I went to Mount Rose from first grade up to 10th. I went to Mount Rose, and mine got up to junior high. Mount Rose. Now they call it Suburban.
Okay.
That used to be Mount Rose, but now they call it Suburban, and made it high more. They had more now than we ever did. We had a basketball court that was outside, and we had to play basketball outside with it. That was in the grade school, and then finally when they built the regular Mount Rose, up to 10th grade, that's where I graduated. I graduated from there, and then I went into William Penn High School, and that's where actually I quit. I quit there in 10A, and then went in service. That was the same. I think that was the same morning. I woke up over there, and I slept more or less on the perimeter, and they had guard. Our guards were all around, our guards. And I woke up and so forth, and went grabbed my shoes under the bunk, and there was just a hand grenade, a Jap hand grenade. They were made just like a tin can on the one end, and then just stick out of it. Then that they're hammering like that and throw it. It didn't go off. I was lucky. Wow. I still say I got almost close to going during the war within an inch.
Let's talk about Grandma Frankie. What was her full maiden name?
Oh, full maiden name was Frances Louise Jacobs. That was her. That was her maiden name. Of course, I turned her into a Rosengrant. She's a wonderful woman. She was a good mother, a good wife. But I drank for years, but I didn't drink heavy. I just socialized, and sometimes when I get a little bit too much, I got in trouble. I admit it. And I could kick myself in the butt for not straightening out sooner than I did. And I always wish somebody would kick me in the butt for that. And I always pray at night that she forgives me for what I have done. But I always give her everything she wanted. I gave her a home. I built that home, built a home, and I bought the land off of her father, and built a home there, with inside a fist. We got married April 20th, and the following year, February the 17th. We were living. My greatest joy was marrying your grandmother, my wife. She was really a good person. She was wonderful. And I tell you, when she passed away, she was not but skin and bones. And I pray for her and all the rest of the deceased persons, my mother and father, her, and other ones, my friends of mine, some of the older friends. They're all passed away, most of them. And my wife Frankie, she raised them good, and I must admit that she's done a good job. Done a good job with them, and except they're all different. My children were actually all different. And he's a big dog, and he they were all different. I see Colleen's different from my other daughter, and the boys were all different from each other. They're different. I'm glad they're not alike. They'd be killing each other. That's like most of them, some of them do, you know. But I always told them to be honest, fair, nice to people. I said, and it might rub off, and you think it might not. I said, you've just done your part. That's what I told them.
Right.
And be nice to people, and always hold the door open. That little boy, I got a little grandson out in Las Vegas now. He was only 6 years old, and even when he was 5, I was out there, and he'd hold the door open, and like a doorman. I said, "You the doorman today?" "Yes." And they all say, someone would say thank you, you know, and he said, "You're welcome," you know. And he's very pleasant. You know.
What would be the most important thing you want all of us to learn from you, or about the world?
About the world? Well, I think it should be. I told them try to be kind to people, and I told my kids to be honest, fair, and do what you think is good common sense. I said sometimes you'll roll off the barrel, you know, they'll roll off the barrel and get out of shape. I did it when I was a kid. Yeah, she had a tumor on her liver, as big as a cantaloupe, about that big. They showed it to me, and they cut them off, see if they could cut it off, you know. But they couldn't cut it off. The surgeon said if he'd have cut that off her liver, she'd have died on the operating table. She'll have to go home too long. But they said they can turn around. Told her, we went to see a cancer consultant. They said, yeah, well, we can shrink it. And I said, and then you'll have some ill effects and stuff. Well, she said, no, she don't want nothing. She knows she's going to go, you know. And she was a fighter, though. But she was a fighter. She's a wonderful woman. You know. And I pray every night for them. And them people, you know, how they had it and everything else. And she was a good woman.
We sure did love her.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll wrap this session up. Grandpa, we love you very much.
I know all my grandchildren do. I know they all do. They usually, the boys are different than the girls. Now the girls will come up and they want to know you and love you, you know. But the boys, they think that they're too girlish, you know. I know.
Yeah.
I know. With 51 of them, I know.
Yeah.
And of course, you know I'm a great-grandpap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one of them. I don't think I'll see any more. But yeah, they're beautiful. I love them all.
Yeah.
They know, and that's the most precious thing you can give them is love. Yeah. I don't care how much material things you give them or something, they forget it the next day.
Yeah.
But love, they'll never forget.